recording will start soon.
We're live.
We are. All right. Hi, guys. We're trying something a little different this time. We're filming a video together, but apart. A puppy. We have some things that we want to talk to you about and remind you of as we go forward with our distance learning while you are at home and we're at home. So we have a few things we want to discuss. All right.
Indeed, we do.
So the first thing that we need to remind everyone of, is that even though we're not at school, we still need to be focusing on pause, positive choices, acting respectfully, working responsibly, and safe behavior. You need to make sure that you are following pause in Google Classroom and at home too. That's always a good idea. Another thing is when you're in the comment section, you need to make sure that you are being respectful to not only your classmates, but to us as well. Maybe before you press post, reread what you've written and make sure that it is kind and respectful.
Yep, I think we're seeing, overall you guys are doing really great with this, but not saying Miss or Mrs., speaking to us as if we were right in front of you. We need to be remembering that that's how this is. This is our way of communicating now. So you need to treat the adults with respect, your peers with respect, and you will receive the same respect. So.
Another one is when you ask us a question and you post a comment and you need feedback from an adult, from Mrs. Pavo and Mrs. Beaupre, you need a question answered, you have to give us a second to respond. We are available during the school day, but we're not always sitting in front of the screen waiting for comments. We do get notified on our phones and our computers. So when we do see that you have commented or asked a question, we do get to a computer, but it takes a second for the computer to load up, for the comment to open. So you have to give us a second. If we don't respond back, some of you are sending another comment within 30 seconds, and then again, and again, and again, and it's filling up the comment log. So your initial question gets lost, and everyone gets a little frustrated and antsy, and I can't find it, I'm not answering. So you need to type your question, read it, make sure it makes sense, and then give us a second to respond. We need a little bit of time to open up Google Classroom and get to it.
And on that same note, speaking on the comments section, you do need to check the rest of the comments to see if there was a similar question. Oftentimes, you are posting your question without realizing 2 or 3 of you have already posted the same question and we have responded. So looking for a Google Classroom code or saying, you're having a hard time making the TFK bigger so you can read it. We have responded to that, the initial post, the initial question, and don't need to keep responding to the same question. We want to be available to answer other questions as well. So
also, if multiple people are asking the same question, usually we always put it in the comment section, but usually one of us will go back and edit the post with a little star that says Mr. Wilson's class code is this, or we put it up in the original part of the post, or it's right in the to-do list. If you read through the entire to-do list, you'll see that Miss Lundergan's class code is there, and Mr. Thurber's link to his YouTube channel is right there in the post. So make sure you're reading everything and looking back at your peers' comments to see, oh, did somebody else already ask that question and get an answer?
Yep.
We need to make sure that we're using school-appropriate language.
Not just in the comment section, but also in the slides.
The slides, emails, everywhere. If you wouldn't say it at school to our face, you shouldn't be posting it in a comment or a message.
For everyone to see. It's not just your peers. You don't know which peers have their parents reading over the Google Classroom as well. And on that note, Ms. Gilhooly is also part of this page. So Ms. Gilhooly sees everything that you post, and we want to be sure we're truly representing the Pogo homeroom the way we are when we're normally in class. We are some of the most respectful and well-behaved students at Northwest, and we want to continue to set that positive example. So please remember, your language matters. The way you speak to each other matters. Please be kind to one another.
Now we're talking about the daily slides and the work that we are assigning. When you are working in the Google Slides, you should be completing the work to the best of your abilities. Some of you will do the first math slide and then forget or choose not to do everything else. If you were at school, you wouldn't just come and do one math problem and then leave. You would go to science and you would go to social studies and phys ed. So make sure you are completing your slides. When you're completing your slides, you should be writing like a fifth grader in complete sentences, complete fifth grade sentences, turning the question around, all things that we do when we are at school, things that we absolutely know how to do. You should still be doing them at home.
You need to be using fifth grade grammar as well. Texting, NVM, never mind. BRB, be right back. Whatever you guys do.
The letter U for YOU.
Yeah. You need to be typing your words out completely. Remember, it's just like handwriting it out in school. I wouldn't accept it if you wrote it down in your notebook or on a piece of paper. I won't accept it here on Google Slides either. And we've been commenting back to, I'd say about 80% of you, that you are not doing things in complete sentences or using text language. That is going to stop from here on out. My expectation is 10 or more words per sentence, and that you are turning every question around. Just like in school where you did not get credit for incomplete answers, you will not receive credit here.
Another thing you need to do is make sure you are reading and rereading the questions. A lot of people they'll read the first part, write down what they think is the answer, and then move on to the next slide or next question when they just got it wrong because they didn't read that there were two parts or there was multi-step. You need to make sure that you're reading and rereading the questions, especially if you're going to ask for help. And we say, okay, what question are you on? I don't know, I didn't read it. Well, that doesn't help us. So make sure you're reading and rereading. When it's a math problem, you need to make sure that you're putting a unit just like you would at school. If you're talking about money, you're going to put the dollar sign. If you're talking about rain boots, you're going to write rain boots, just like if you were doing a math assignment at school.
Same. So we spend a lot of time with the read alouds. It is not easy to make a video and do a read aloud because we can't interact with you or get your immediate feedback. So know that when we are recording videos, when I did Freak the Mighty, when Miss Vogel's doing the Unteachables, or when I'm reading Bully Box to you, it takes a lot of time and effort to make those available to you, to record them, to upload them, and all of those things. So please be listening to those videos because your work shows that you're not listening to them.
Hard to answer a question. It's hard to answer a question about a book that you haven't read or you haven't heard someone else read. So when you're telling us that Parker, is it Parker, his name? Parker in the Unteachables, you're saying he's so-and-so, and you're like, well, he's not the teacher. Let's try again. Make sure you're listening to the stories. They take a long time to record. Sometimes they need to be edited together.
Re-recorded,
posted on YouTube. That takes a very, very long time. Hours for one video. So please make sure you are listening to them. When you are looking at your to-do list, we have a list of tasks or assignments for you to do. Please make sure you are doing them to the best of your ability. Sometimes we put things like, I think last week we showed you a video of the chalk obstacle course. That was a suggestion. If you didn't have chalk, you could have come up with something else. We showed you a video to another type of video. Showed you a link to another type of obstacle course video. So make sure you're doing it to the best of your ability. We're trying to assign things that we think you would have access to those materials or resources at home. So please make sure you are doing all of the tasks on the to-do list.
Especially when the to-do list says something like going to a specialist classroom. Those are not optional. Mr. Wilson, Mrs. Plouffe even, our specialists are spending a lot of time continuing to teach you virtually. Their responsibilities are the same as Ms. Vogel and I's. So their expectation is that you are heading to that classroom and doing the work when you are asked. They need just as much participation as we do.
Just like if you were at school, you at 10:35 or whatever time it was, you would go to music.
9:55 to 10:40, 10:35.
At 9:55, you would go to music, or you would go to media. You would go to those places. You wouldn't just sit in the hallway or sit in the classroom and do nothing. So you should still be visiting their Google Classrooms or their YouTube channels, different things to see what's going on in those rooms.
And some of those assignments, in particular Mr. Wilson's, have a due date. So again, there is an expectation that when we direct you to go to those places, that you are going there.
Okay, this is a big one. When we return work to you, that means we have graded it. We have seen it, we've checked your work, we've acknowledged it with a comment or a Bitmoji or something. We have seen your work, you've passed it into the turn-in bin, and we are putting it back into your mailbox. We are all done with it. Please do not resubmit it. Some of you are resubmitting the same assignment 15 or more times. So then on our grade book in Google Classroom, it says that you haven't done it when we know you have.
Right, so we've given you credit. You resubmit it, it takes it off, and then the credit isn't there anymore. And it makes it hard for us to have to go back in every week and check through all 50 of you guys, all of your slides. So we need you to please stop resubmitting work. We've seen it.
When you are done with the work, though, you should be submitting it. You should be pressing the turn in button, so then we are notified that you've done it. We spend hours every day
and evening
through kids to see, okay, did they do it and didn't press turn in? And so many of you are not pressing the turn in button. So please make sure you are submitting it when you're done and then being done, not submitting it third, fourth, 15th time at midnight. That's excessive.
We also now have these next two kind of go hand in hand. Next couple. We are tracking participation along with Ms. Gilhooly, Mr. Prana. They then pass along your participation amount onto the superintendent Deacon. So it is vital that you are doing the work during the week. The work that is past due, so let's say work from last week, it was due at the very latest by Sunday evening. At this point, we are not checking or giving credit to anything that was due last week and you're handing in this week. Again, we go through all of your slides every single day to make sure you're getting credit and that the administration sees that you're doing your work. We cannot go back to old work. Unfortunately, we're going to be teaching more and more material over the next month and a half, and we cannot be spending time going back. Once the data is given, we give it to Ms. Gilhooly and she passes it on. We can't go back and edit that document.
Once you submit your work and once the week is over, we also have our own due date to say, okay, these kids did this much work and we haven't heard anything from this kid. And once we submit that to administration, we can't touch it anymore. After a certain time, our due date is up and we have to move on to the next week. So some kids today, and it's Monday, May 11th, some of you are doing work from St. Patrick's Day. I've seen kids who are doing assignments from Thanksgiving that we did in school. Those don't count anymore. Those we have moved on, and we are on to a new week. We're learning new things. We just started fractions and math. So you want to make sure that you are keeping up to date with what's happening now. That being said, if on Monday you can't do your work, so if today you can't do it, that doesn't mean you don't have any time. You have until Sunday to do the work. So you have the whole week, essentially. You just want to make sure you are doing your assignments.
And do understand we are dividing things up on each day, not to make it complicated, not to make it so that you have so much work every single day. We're trying to divide it just like we would in school so that it's manageable. It's a smaller amount of work. There are some teachers that are assigning everything on Monday, and that's kind of overwhelming. And I know you guys, Ms. Vogel knows you guys, you know us. We don't love having a ton of stuff thrown at us to do all at once. That being said, this work is not optional. That is one of the biggest things you need to understand. I know there was some question about, well, do we have to do the work? Will we go to 6th grade? Yes, you will. And our intention with all of this is to help keep the learning alive in your brain, just like a normal school year, so that you only really have the summer off before you head off to the big middle school. These assignments are now going to be about teaching new material. Ms. Vogel is teaching new math. I'm teaching new social studies, and those are things that you will need to have to be successful in 6th grade. You can't have these little gaps of not knowing math or not knowing your social studies timeline or not having your science standards completed. It is up to us to continue teaching you just as if you were in front of us. So you cannot not do any work. You need to be doing your work each day. It's so crucial to your success next year.
Just like we're doing new teaching and doing our job every single day and on the weekends and at night, you need to make sure that you are doing your job and getting this work done. If you're not looking at Google Classroom, you're missing out on all these videos to teach you how to multiply, how to subtract fractions, and how to read about the Civil War map. I'm not sure about social studies.
No, you're right. Civil War.
When you're not in Google Classroom, you're missing out on these things that we're trying to teach you to prepare you for next year.
Yeah.
I think that was
all
that's on our list.
Yeah, the only other thing is, and while we love the creativity, the comments where you're trying to draw a picture or the cat face or whatever that OWO is, they need to stop, because the comment section is for, as much as we love you interacting with your peers, it sends an email blast out to all of the adults. So that's Ms. Vogel, myself, Ms. Gilhooly, Mrs. Beaupre, Ms. Cormier,
Ms.
Roach. It's going out to all of the teachers. So Ms. Diamond. So we really need you to be sure that your comments are class driven,
useful,
academically driven kind of thing.
Writing the same word over and over or writing a sentence one post at a time is not efficient or useful.
Sorry, Ms. Vogel, that is a situation where we do have the power to mute your comments, which means you will not be allowed to comment. If we continue to see posts that are, like Ms. Vogel said, a whole sentence broken up into 7 comments, or the conversation is not school appropriate, we've asked you to stop and you have not, you're doing the OWO thingy, whatever that is, you will be muted for 24 hours. Your comments will be turned off. If we need to keep having this conversation, we might need to have a Google Meet with you and your parent as well, so that we can talk about the appropriateness that we need to be continuing in a Google Classroom, which overall you guys have been doing a wonderful job. And that doesn't surprise Ms. Vogel or I. It actually surprises us that it took 8 weeks for us to have to film this video, because you guys are just so great. You
Yeah.
just get it. You know how you're supposed to behave, and we're so proud of you. And we think we taught you well enough. So that being said, continue with the positive work. Continue working hard. Put your best foot forward these next, how many weeks left? 5?
I don't know. Tyler just told us this morning.
Keep putting your best foot forward. We're going to finish this year strong. We'll have some more fun towards the end of the year. And keep in touch with us. Email us if you need us. But keep the texting your friends and the jokes to your personal time on your cell phones or through
You can
email.
email all of them as well. You have the ability to send an email to all of your classmates. If you know what their name is, you're able to send them an email.
Yes, indeedy.
All right. So that is all we have to say for today. We'll see you in our next Google Meet or our next video.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.